Early voting is already underway across New Mexico, and on the ballot this year are $139 million worth of proposed state general obligation bonds. It's a way for the government to borrow money for the capital improvement projects, and the bonds are backed by the promise of property tax revenues. The largest bond request, Bond C, would go to building improvement projects at the state's colleges and universities. And MIF correspondent Sarah Gustavus now with a trio of higher ed presidents: C&M Community College's Kathy Winograd, New Mexico Tech's Dr. Daniel Lopez, and UNM's Robert Frank.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Each of your universities has requested general obligation bonds on this year's ballot. The economic situation in the country and in New Mexico is really still on voters' minds. And I'd like to know, how do you justify asking for support of these bonds this year when economic issues are still a concern for folks? Let's start with Dr. Frank from UNM.
Well, the bonds actually don't incur any additional expenses for voters. The way they're structured, voters can support these and have no new obligations on their property taxes. So first and most important thing, no new debts are associated with these. Second, they help the universities, and when you help universities, that gives more college-educated people. More college-educated people means more income for New Mexicans.
And for Dr. Winograd, are you finding that you're answering some of those questions when you talk to people about the bonds, about whether or not it would have a financial impact on families?
Absolutely, and the fact that it is a no tax increase bond election is very important to the voters. But we also want to make sure that people understand that our institutions are here to improve the economy, that we want to make sure that individuals are graduating from our universities and our community colleges and moving into the jobs. And lastly, we want to make sure everybody understands that this also creates jobs. If the bond election is successful, there will be construction jobs that will result from this bond, and that's very important in a community like New Mexico.
And Dr. Lopez, significance in the community?
Well, you know, the thing is that I don't think we can lose sight of the investment aspect of this. It's important, obviously, to upgrade the facilities, and it's important to understand that 26 of the 29 projects in the 21 counties are really upgrades and renovations to existing facilities. So it's really not adding new facilities by and large. We calculated that about only 11% of this whole bond issue is going for new facilities. But the immediate job impact is important to keep in mind. There's 1,200 to 1,500 jobs over the next 12 to 18 months after the bond election is approved. So I think that in itself adds a certain level of urgency to try to push this forward and get it adopted. We understand the concern of the voters, and we've tried to explain that this is an issue that will not add to their tax burden, but at the same time will do two primary things that will help us continue educating the best and the brightest, and also add immediate investment that will create jobs.
Can you tell us specifically what the bonds would go towards at New Mexico Tech?
At New Mexico Tech, that's one of the new facilities, $18 million to build a Bureau of Geology and Mineral Resources. The Bureau of Geology Resources serves both as an educational research center, but more importantly, it really is a state agency. It was created in 1927. Its purpose is to assess the value and the location of the extractive resources in the state of New Mexico, as well as water. Very, very focused on aquifer mapping, for example, where we establish what the baseline is on water availability so it can be properly adjudicated. So it performs a very important role on behalf of the state.
What about at your institutions? What specifically would the bond funds go to?
At C&M, it is $10.5 million to upgrade labs. So that's our physics, chemistry, and biology labs. And C&M is has a very big program in that area. We have a number of students, not only from the community college, but from the university that come to take those classes. And what we're interested in is making sure that our labs are high-tech, available for hands-on kind of instruction so that individuals can move directly into jobs.
Now, are those medical programs, training programs?
Many of them are nursing, medical technologists, the kinds of individuals that will end up working in our healthcare fields throughout this central New Mexico area.
And at UNM?
So at UNM on our Albuquerque campus, it's going for renovation of our chemistry and our biology buildings, which they came online in 1969, which actually was before I started at UNM as a freshman. These buildings are central to our STEM majors, and they are about 80% of our students that go through there are from New Mexico, so they're very New Mexico centric, and we need to update these for the same things that Kathy was just describing for all of the students that go through our health majors, go through these programs, and these are outdated labs that really need renovation, and we have a great little video on our homepage if any of your viewers are interested and they want to see one of our students describing what the current conditions are and what they'd like to see.
What about supporting students at UNM and at other institutions around the state? Students are paying higher tuition rates in a lot of places. What would these bonds, what would these improvements mean for their quality of education?
Well, at UNM, this would bring our facilities up to the state of the art, and our facilities are really, in chemistry and biology, these facilities are certainly not state of the art right now. But it's important to note that at UNM, we also have in the bond renovations on our branch campuses as well. All 4 of our branch campuses have projects that run from, I think, $4 million down to $500,000. So this goes not just in Albuquerque, it goes throughout all 4 of our branches. So we're covering you know, the entire UNM system, and as was implied by all of our answers, this bond covers the entire state of New Mexico. So this is a bond for all of New Mexico. So the whole state gets help from this bond. So this is a big lift for the entire state. These jobs go everywhere, not just central New Mexico. The entire state gets helped.
And I do believe that the quality of education is certainly impacted as a result of having HVAC systems and roofs that are in proper repair, having the kinds of education that our students in New Mexico deserve. We don't want our students leaving New Mexico in order to get the kind of facility that allows them to have high quality education.
Did you want to add something,
I
Dr.
was just
Lopez?
going to add that, you know, parents are used to at least some level of housing and facilities where the students go to learn. And I think we're in danger of losing the high quality students, the best and the brightest, and moving to, or going to get their education in another state. And I think those are the students, as well as others, that we want to keep in New Mexico. And I think by not having the proper facilities, you endanger that prospect. And so it's important for all of those reasons, economic reasons as well as educational reasons.
Dr. Winograd and all of you, this came up in 2010. General obligation bonds for higher education were on the ballot in 2010. They did not pass. How has your institution, how has CNM dealt with that since then, with the repairs and the things that needed to happen when those obligation bonds weren't passed?
When the general obligation bonds aren't passed for community colleges, many times we have to just put things on hold and try very hard to sort of do the bubblegum and toothpaste kinds of repairs until we get an opportunity to make the case and create an opportunity for our voters to participate. It's a little bit different for the four-year institutions, but we just put things off.
Well, you know, there's really very few ways to replace a GO bond. This is by far the best mechanism we have to do our repairs. And in New Mexico, this is the way our system works to best repair facilities. So we really need the cooperation of voters, and it's important for voters to realize that this item is the very last item on the ballot. This is a very complicated ballot in this election cycle. So voters that support this, and we hope everybody does, because this is really a very simple item. As we said, there's no expense to voters. It helps universities, and there's clear it helps universities. So if they want to do the right thing, they should go to the last item, vote for the last item, work their way up to the big piece of resistance, the presidential item, and they can do the right thing for New Mexico students. And so we really hope they'll start at the bottom and work up.
But going to your initial question, I agree obviously with what my colleagues have said. But one of the problems, let's take New Mexico Tech for example. We have a building that's over 40 years old. It has health and safety and fire code issues. We've had to band-aid it to try to keep the building as safe as possible. So you just delay those things, and eventually it'll have to be replaced. That function's not going to go away. It's a state function as well as an educational research function, so it's critically important. And I agree, we ought to have a new trend in New Mexico where we go and vote for the last item first and then move all the way up. I think Dr. Frank has given you, the voters, a good idea.
Dr. Frank, have you found both in 2010 and this year that there might be some critiques about pay for administrators or pay for football coaches, and people wanting to know where is the money that New Mexicans are investing, or that New Mexicans are supporting through general obligation bonds? How's that being used by the university? What's your message to folks on that issue?
Sure, and there's been a lot of concern about these issues, and we understand the concern, and it is certainly a very compelling issue, but it's important to realize that in Bond C, there is no money going to administrators, there's no money going to football coaches. All of this money is going directly into the repair of buildings, and in the case of the two institutions that Dr. Lopez described, into the creation of these two new buildings, and these facilities go directly to the education of students. So not $1 in this bond goes to high-paid administrators or any of these concerns we've heard about, and so this is directly to student welfare and to the education of students. So if students are angry, if people are angry about that, they're not going to address any of that by not supporting this. That's an entirely different issue. So this is not. These are two different issues entirely.
And I think it's important to understand that even if you wanted to, you cannot divert bond money for salaries or anything associated with operations. They're specifically for capital improvements. That's part of the provisions of the authorization, so it just can't go for anything else. But let me add just very quickly a footnote to all of this. The students, if we have a dire need, then the students land up to having to pay for it with higher tuition rates. So we're caught in this catch-22 where on the one hand we want to keep tuition low and affordable, but on the other, if there's a critical need, that's the only other place we have to go, is tax the students.
And I think that's a really important point, because you've heard we're all putting this into our basic science facilities, and we're putting them into the air handling systems and into the laboratory systems, and these are things that are basic health management systems, and we have to improve these systems. So these aren't optional things. These aren't like we're painting the walls so they look pretty. We're trying to make these facilities work, and so we have to make these kinds of improvements.
Dr. Winograd, the Albuquerque Journal recently reported that some of the faculty at CNM had expressed some concerns that they'd like issues with faculty and staffing addressed first before focusing on things like facilities. What's your response to those critiques?
Well, I am absolutely aware that our faculty and staff are concerned about their salaries and their teaching loads, but as has been stated at the table, the bond election by law is for facilities, and our faculty and staff also deserve to be in buildings that are of the quality that allow them to be the kinds of teachers we know they are, that give them the opportunity to be there for the students in the way they want to be there. So I think it's definitely something we should all be thinking about. How do we support all of our instructional needs? But in this election, the issue is around facilities, and we need to support that because it's another way to support our faculty and staff.
Have either of you heard concerns from your faculty about the obligation bonds?
At New Mexico Tech, at least at present, I haven't heard any, but that doesn't mean that there may not be some. I think our community in Socorro understands the importance of this, not only to the university, but to the community. So I expect that we'll have strong support.
My faculty, I think, are strongly supportive of improving our facilities. I mean, they have concern about their salaries, certainly, but they recognize that these are two different issues.
One very brief final thing, what's next if the bond is approved this year for your universities?
Well, what will have to happen, of course, after the election, then it still has to go to the Board of Finance, and there's a whole state process that has to take place. When it's ultimately approved, then you have to go through the bidding process in order to get the best value for whatever money you have to build the building or upgrade a building, whatever the case may be. So there's still a long road to hoe. I think probably the soonest you could start construction would be around summertime, by the time you get all the bids in, get everything worked out, or maybe just a little earlier, but you have to put it on a fast track.
And then we need to focus in on how do we graduate more students. And I think we're all wanting our facilities to be the finest they can, our faculty and staff to be supported in the ways that they need to be supported so that we can make New Mexico stronger.
Well, I hope the state would work on us to work with us to create an expedited bidding process so we can get this out fast and put New Mexicans to work as quickly as possible and move around, avoid this state Board of Finance issue, which doesn't seem necessary to me.
Thank you all for joining us today. We hope to see you again soon.
And thank you for having us.